Welcome to Yogaroo Online and welcome to your online restorative workshop. So the theme of this class, or what I want you to kind of focus on in this class, is the challenge of allowing yourself to let go and allowing yourself to arrive into your practice. So we often kind of spend our day being so busy, but just that, and we really don't give ourselves the time to settle. And you might also find that if this is new to you, if you haven't done restorative before, you might find that it might take one or two poses to actually allow yourself to settle into it. If you're a seasoned restorative practitioner, you might find that you actually get into your practice a lot faster than that. So you allow yourself, whether you've come to the practice of restorative for physical tension, mental tension, or whether you're really feeling great, restorative has something for everybody, because it works as a therapeutic method of helping you ease through these conditions, or it also works as a preventative method. So you very much, we forget to come to the practice when we're feeling great, but that is the time that actually we really need to be getting on our mat to continue to feel great. So allow the muscles to release, allow the chatter of the mind to kind of quieten down, and really allow yourself to have this just 1 hour of your day for yourself to look after yourself. Stay warm, keep the blankets beside you, have layers, socks off or socks on, depends how warm your room is. Now I've got lights on and probably won't go dark in the space of the next hour, but like a nice darkened room is nice, a nice quiet room, and a room that you feel kind of nice and safe in is good, so that you can give yourself the best conditions to actually allow yourself to relax. If you have a little bit of essential oils or a fragranced candle, maybe now's the time to pause the video if you are watching the recording. Maybe if you're doing it live, you'll do it the next time. Okay, so we'll get started. So we're going to start with just a little bit of movement, not much, but I just thought we'd do just a few cat-cows, move the hips around, because, if you're practicing this, particularly if you're practicing in the evening, there's going to be tension through our spine and our hips, and it's quite a big ask just to ask the body to settle and lie down. We kind of feel a bit fidgety, so I thought we'd do just a little bit of movement to kind of ease out any muscular tension that we might have. So let's start on all fours there. Nice and simple, shoulders stacked over wrists and hips stacked over knees. Few rounds of cat-cow. So inhale, the belly softens down towards the ground, the gaze comes forward, and then exhale, lifts the spine up towards the ceiling, scoop the hips up and back. Inhale, belly softens towards the ground, and draw your chest in between your arm bones there, and exhale, lift the spine up towards the ceiling. One more time, inhale, belly softens towards the ground, the gaze comes maybe a little bit forward, draw the hands towards the knees there, and then exhale, lift the spine up towards the ceiling. And then just free flow through the hips there, either doing circles with the hips, going one direction and going the other direction, or if you know how to do it, sometimes people find this one tricky to work out. I thought I'd gotten rid of you. So figure 8 with your belly button, drawing a figure 8 on the ground there. So sweeping forward, curling around, and sweeping back and curling around and forward and back. So it's like you're drawing a figure 8 on your mat there with your belly button. And then going the other direction, and really let it swing now. So let your body be fluid. Let yourself move with this waving of the hips there, as big or as small as you want to, but make it come from a place of fluidity. Okay, and then just one or two more rounds of cat-cow there. Okay, and then grab your bolster. So the first, as I said, the first few poses, we're not going to hold them for very long, because I want to just gradually ease you into the idea of holding longer poses and really settling into your practice. So if child's pose is not the pose for you, don't worry, we're not going to be in it for very long. If you find it hard to lean forward of your bolster, use as many of your blankets as you need to get to a comfortable position. If you find that it can be nice to just have the blankets here and lean over, or you can have them further up and lean down. If you find this is uncomfortable in the knee position, what's good is to pop a blanket underneath your hips there to take a little bit of the flexion out of the knee. If you find it uncomfortable on the soles of the feet, pop a blanket under there. Again, your blankets are your best friend in your restorative practice. So I'm just going to come into a version. So I'm going to bring the bolster in between my legs there. I have my toes tucked together there. Sit my hips back on my toes, lengthen up through the spine. So always come into your poses from a nice consciously lengthened spine. Hands either side of the bolster there. And then just bring yourself down to the front of your vertebrae, or the front of your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. I'm going to stay up on my chin here because I don't want to push into my AirPods, but you can come onto a cheek there, either side. And then maybe just walk the elbows out a little bit away from the bolster there, just so that your shoulders aren't kind of tucked up around your ears there. So a little bit of space for the arm bones to just hang out of the sockets. Fingertips down and spread wide on your mat there. Take a deep breath here and just let's start to arrive into our practice. And with each exhale, can you feel the gentle press of gravity along the vertebrae of your spine there, pressing you down into the support of your bolster? And then with the front of the body being held by the bolster, it's a great opportunity to find the breath in the back of your lungs there. We always think of our breath being just at the front of our lungs, but feel the breath at the back of your lungs. Feel the ribs opening up at the back of your back body there, either side of your spine, opening up with your inhale and then contracting back together on your exhale. Can you feel the expansion of your breath as your chest, the top of your chest moves away from the bolster on your inhale and then gently drops down towards the front body on your exhale. And even though there's so much life in between front body and back body, can you get a kind of a three-dimensional picture in your head of front body sitting on bolster, back body lifting on the inhale and then drawing back down towards the front body on the exhale? And then just getting a little bit curious about the breath. So what is it that facilitates this expansion? It's actually you're bringing the outside world into your internal world to create this space. So the air that fills the lungs and brings life to all the cells of the body. We'll just take a few more breaths there. Okay, we get ready to move into our next pose now. So as I said, the first few poses, you'll be moving a little bit faster than you will in your the mid poses and the end poses. So press your hands down either side of the bolster there to really slowly start to move slow now. Slowly lift yourself up to seated. And then just pop your bolster out to the side there. And then you're going to make a nice tight blanket roll. Okay, so I know everyone's blankets are going to be different sizes now, but just, you know, have a general idea of the sizes. So I have this blanket folded in 4 there, and then I'm going to roll it up as tight as I can to make it quite a firm roll. And then I'll show you when I have it rolled up what kind of size you want it to be. So we're just going to do a little bit of abdominal work here, really good for the gut and digestion. So it's this kind of a size, but it's quite firm. Okay, so you're going to place that into the middle of your mat, middle there, and you're going to come down over it with the belly rested on top of the roll there. So make sure that it's up kind of high enough that the pointy hip bones aren't kind of protecting the blanket from pressing into your internal organs there. So a little bit higher than the pointy hip bone. So it's kind of along my belly button actually there. Okay. And then you're just going to roll there from side to side. You can have your hands placed on the ground. You can bring your forehead onto your stacked hands there. And just roll your belly from side to side. So just swinging your hips from side to side there. Massaging out the abdominal organs there. Okay, and then come to center there. And then place the forehead on the hands. Again, I'm going to keep my head up so you can hear me. And then we're going to compress. We're going to press ourselves down into the blanket there and then just release. So with an inhale, press your belly button down into the blanket there. And then just release it. We'll do that 2 more times. Press yourself down into the blanket. And then release it. And 1 more time, press down into the blanket and release it. And another little technique, you're just going to take an inhale here and then an exhale and let all the muscles just relax underneath the blanket there. Let the muscles around your abdominal kind of wrap around or kind of fall around the edges of the blanket there, front and back. And then inhaling and exhale, releasing that little bit more. Let the muscles relax around the blanket. Feel the blanket maybe going a little bit deeper into the abdominal region there. 1 more time, inhale. And then exhale, let all the muscles underneath the blanket there release or above the blanket. Okay, let's move on. So press the hands down either side of you there and just gently come up again to kneeling. We're going to release out through the lower back there. So where you want the blanket is, I've just swapped my blanket to be parallel or running the same length of my mat there. And I'm just coming down onto the blanket there. It doesn't really matter if your head falls off the end, as long as you maybe have something to put your chin on. And I want the blanket to be low or high enough so that I can have a little bit of a waterfall of my pelvis there. If you can see it there, it's kind of just at my pointy hip bones, which gives enough space for my pelvis to drop down onto the mat. So my pelvis isn't really on the blanket, and that's just going to release or open up the back of the SI joint, the sacroiliac joint there. I'll just stay here for 1 or 2 breaths. And maybe even just tilting the pelvis forward and back a little bit, just releasing out, finding that little bit of space between the sides of the rib, or the sides of the pelvis there. Left side and right side, sacroiliac in the middle. Just micro movements that we obtain in our sacroiliac joint. And then just check in with your breath there and see, is it starting to find its nice, relaxed rhythm? Maybe it gets a little bit gentler. You might find your breath gets longer. But see, can you keep it kind of even inhale to exhale? We might do an extended exhale when we come into a longer hold pose, because the exhale is where we find the parasympathetic nervous system in particular through the vagus nerve. So, but for the moment, just see, can you not alter it, but just observe it? And yes, maybe alter it if it needs altering, but more an observation of the breath to check in with you. Okay, we're going to move on again. So press your hands down either side of your blanket roll there to come up. And then the next one, we're just going to have one blanket beside you there. We'll use that in a minute over our legs. You're going to come to sit with your back up against that blanket there. But first, you're going to take the far end of it and just roll it over. Now, it might fall out of the roll there, but that's just the direction it's going, okay? And your head then is going to sit on top of that. So I'll just show you it there. I've just kind of doubled up that end there, and that's going to lift my head up, okay? Now, again, don't worry too much if your blanket is a different length than mine. If you can sit more of your spine on it. So I'm just going to come down onto the blanket. I'm going to tuck that end in again until it just hits the back of my skull there. Okay, so it's kind of sitting inside the curve. See the way the skull kind of dips down there, the occipital curve, and that little end of the blanket is wedging into the dip at the back of the skull there. And then this other blanket, you're just going to drape that over your legs there. Just open it out a little bit and drape it over your legs. So what that does, it's this whole idea of those weighted blankets that were very popular a while ago. It's you have all these little sensors on our skin and just underneath our skin, and they react to weight, and they react really lovely to weight, and it kind of sends signals to the brain to tell you that you are safe. So we love that, you know, the comfort of, you know, a hand pressing on our body. That's why hugs are so great. We love that sensation of touch and weight. So for this one, palms facing up. So can you roll the shoulders out to the sides there, palms facing up, let the shoulders just drop down either side of the blanket roll that's running along your spine. And see now, as a contrast to when we were in child's pose, can you feel the breath and the front of the body here? So feel the breath, our more traditional observation of our breath, or where we perceive the breath to be in the front of the lungs, whereas we know that it's in all parts, front, sides, and backs. So feel the rib cage expanding there, the chest expanding with your inhale. And gently falling back down on your exhale. So the same observation that we did when we were on child's pose. Remember, when we inhaled, we felt the front body lifting up and away from the back body, which is gently resting on the rolled blanket there. And then on our exhale, the front body joins or comes back down towards the back body, which is resting on the blanket. And again, just remember what causes this. It's the taking this external world into our internal world. We become part of the outside nature. We often think of ourselves as being very sophisticated beings and kind of almost not part of nature, but we are very much creatures of this earth. Can you maybe even scan from head to toe now and see, can you find any of those parts of the body that you know that you are inclined to hold your natural little tendencies towards tension? So is it your jaw, in between your temples, your forehead, your eye sockets, your shoulders? I can feel my shoulders are lifting up there. They're not letting gravity let them drop down either side of the blanket. Is it your belly? Do you hold tension in your belly? Where is it? We all have somewhere that we might hold tension. A lot of people, it can be in the jaw. For me, it can be in the mouth. Sometimes I find I press my tongue too strongly against the inside of my teeth or my upper palate. So notice you habitually clench anywhere in your body. And when you notice a point or you kind of find somewhere else that's interesting, just take a big deep breath into that part of the body. And not saying that the breath will directly go there, but just, use the breath almost like massaging out these little inclinations we have with the power of the breath. And maybe even extending the exhale a little bit, tapping into that rest and restore. It might even help you to put your hand on your belly and a hand on your heart center. We have lots of little tools that can help us to allow ourselves to relax, to allow ourselves to submit to this idea of being allowed to take time for ourselves. Okay, so gently pressing your hands down either side to come up to a seated position. And then just have a look up towards me to see where we're going for our next one. So we're going to bring the bolster back onto your mat there. And then I have a blanket just folded up. It's a 4-fold, and then I folded it one more time again. So anything around that shape, doesn't have to be specific. And you're just going to drape that over your blanket there. So an extra little bit of warmth and an extra little bit of comfort. Okay, and we're going to come into a reclined twist here, a prone twist. So we're going to take let's all go on the same side. You're going to have your left hip up against your bolster, or not quite against it. So we want to have a little bit of space for the pelvis to tilt. Otherwise, your spine will be coming into too much of a lateral bend there. So maybe like about 2 or 3 inches between your hip and the bolster there. Let's sort the legs out next. I've got a nice little wrap for the legs. So sometimes we used to just take the legs into this kind of 90-90 shape, but this is a lovely one. So you're going to pop another blanket, and this is a 4-fold that I've folded up one more time again. You're going to pop it under the bottom leg. So pop it under the left leg, and you're going to make a little sandwich out of that leg. And then you're going to wrap the top part of the blanket over the top of that leg, or the inner part of that leg, and then you're going to pop your right leg on top of that. Now, if you have another blanket, what can be lovely to do is make it a triple decker sandwich and put another blanket on top there. So I've got this one under, in between, and then another one on top there. Okay, and then let's take the hands either side of the bolster there and inhale. Take the time now to lengthen the spine. Give your spine the best chance possible to come into a nice twist over the bolster there. And then exhale, coming down nice and slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, checking in with your hips, checking in with your spine there, making sure that it's happy as you come down. And then again, you can either lie down on your chin, or what's probably more comfortable is going to come down onto your left cheek there. I'm going to stay up on my chin so you can hear me. So if you find this is too much of a twist for your spine, all you need to do is lift the legs up a little bit. So pop more blankets underneath that left knee there. And what that will do is take a bit of the twist out of the spine, because you're lifting your legs away from the floor, which brings less of a twist into your spine. So the blankets are amazing at adjusting the poses to suit your unique body. And again, like we did before, walk the elbows out there, a little bit away from the bolster there, so that the shoulders can just hang either side of the bolster there. And then feel the breath again now at the back of the ribs, the back of the lungs. You might even be able to feel a kind of little bit of movement as the vertebrae open with your inhale and close down a little bit on your exhale. You might be able to feel the shoulder blades sliding a little bit across your back on the inhale, and then drawing back together again on your exhale. And see, can you notice a little gentle tug or a stretch to your skin? I can certainly feel one, like at the back of that left hip. Can you feel a sense of the organs there being a little bit wrung out as you twist into the pose in the gentlest way possible? And can you feel the coziness of that left leg in between the blankets? And the nice weight, almost like our weighted blanket again, the weight of the right leg on top of the left leg. Get ready to move to the second side now. So press into your hands again As we come deeper into our practice, move even slower, like you're moving your body through treacle. I think the nicest way to come to the second side really is just to place your hands either side of the bolster with your back against the bolster, and then just bring all the blankets over to the other side. I'll move around the other way so you can see me. And then let's set up the legs again. So we just need to rearrange them there. Our little leg sandwich has gotten disturbed. So you're going to pop one blanket on the ground and then wrap that one around your right leg now. And then if you have another blanket, have that folded and place that on top of your left leg. Hip, the outside now of your right hip up against the bolster, and maybe an inch or two, not an inch or two, 2 or 3 inches, let's be accurate here, away from the bolster, and then gently twist over the bolster. Press your hands into the ground. Okay, we need to be able to ground into something to grow the spine out of. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, and then exhale, consciously place the front of the spine there down over the front of the bolster, vertebrae by vertebrae. And then coming down onto your right cheek now. Walk the elbows away from the sides of the bolster there. Let the shoulders drop down. And same as the second side, if this is too much of a twist for you, grab that top blanket and wedge it underneath that right knee to take those knees up to reduce the amount of twist that your spine needs to do there. Feel the breath in the back of the lungs now. The back body lifts up away from the front body and the bolster, and then gently falls back down towards the front body and the bolster. Feel the twist in the waist there. Feel a little tug on the skin of a little bit towards the outside of that right hip and maybe across the back of the right hip there. And just so we're equal, feel the nice comforting weight of the left leg on top of the right leg. Okay, press into your hands now to come up. And then just remove the blankets there from your knees. And then just you can leave that blanket on your bolster there and pop it into the middle of your mat there. We're just going to do a little Little inversion. We move to our next pose. So come on to, or moving towards coming onto your back there. Lift your hips up. Oh, actually, no, come onto your back first. Otherwise, you'll pull backwards onto your spine. So come onto your back first, and then lift your hips up just enough so you can get your bolster underneath your hips. Now, if that the blanket on top of the blix or on top of the bolster makes it too high, by all means, you can take that extra blanket out. For me, it feels like a nice little opening to the front of the hips there. And then keep the knees bent, plant the hands into the ground there. And then just feel this lovely little inversion. Inversion being anywhere, any pose where the heart is elevated above the head. And I notice how the breath can sometimes change when we're inverted. So notice, can you feel a sense of gravity kind of underneath the diaphragm there, kind of that sense of the organs moving down towards the diaphragm. So can you find as deep a breath in an inversion, or do you notice that it changes your breath in any way? Maybe you can feel your pulse a little bit now with the extra bit of blood coming up towards the head. Okay, so just lift the hips up there and pop the bolster away from you and bring the hips down. Okay, and then just kick the bolster down a bit, and then we're just going to lift the legs up, okay, with the hips on the ground. So leave the blanket on the bolster if you have it there, and then just drape the legs over the bolster there. Give the legs a little bit of an inversion too. And then observe the breath again here. Has it changed? Does it feel different? For me, it feels a little freer. And slightly less sense of pressure to it. A bit more fluidity to it. Notice the breath again at the front of the chest. Really feel this three-dimensionality of the breath as we move from front to back and front to back. Get ready to move into our next pose now. So just plant your forearms down either side there. Lift yourself up to seated. And we'll take a little bit of time to really set the next one up nicely because we're going to stay in for a little bit longer. So we're going to come into a reclined seated pose. So I'm going to give you different options here. So I'll give you the first option using the belt, and then I'll also give you the second option. Oh, will I give that first? Tell you what, yeah, I'm going to give you the version not using the belt, okay, so that the people who don't have belts can get cracking into their pose. And then if you know that you have a belt and you like bound Baddha-Konasana, we'll pop you into that afterwards, okay? So I have my bricks here. We're just going to do the version with. Now, if you like your bolster up higher, you're very welcome to bring it on to its highest height and its mid height. But just to feel a little bit more secure, because it can be a bit precarious with it up high, I'm going on mid height there and lowest height, and have there a little bit of space between the two of them so that your bolster doesn't kind of flop in between them. And then pop your bolster along your bricks there, make sure it feels nice and secure. Now, this is kind of up to you. Some people like to have a blanket there, but I wouldn't have it too high. So just kind of like a folded blanket quite low down at the end there. And that's just going to lift your head up a little bit. Have another blanket nearby. In fact, if you have another 2 blankets nearby, that would be great. Let's pop another one underneath where our hips are going to be. And that's just going to give the back of our hips an extra little bit of padding there so that we can be really comfy when we're lying down. And make sure you have it nicely smoothed out, that there isn't any creases under where you're going to be sitting, because that will irritate you. Okay. Now, so for the people who don't have the strap, grab your 2 blankets. And then, this will work with 1 blanket too. We're just going to make a blanket roll. Okay, so I have my 2 blankets there, and I'm going to roll them up, lengthen the legs out, and pop those blankets right underneath the knee there. Hands either side of your bolster. That like about 2 or 3 inches between the back of your hips and the bolster to give space for the back to recline. And then inhale, lengthen. Always find length for your spine first, and then exhale. Recline the whole back of the spine over the bolster. Adjust your little head pillow there if you need to. Okay, now you can all start to come into your pose there. I'm just going to adjust the strap, people, now. So if you are taking the version with the strap, let's get your blankets ready first. We're going to do a strap, and we're also going to wedge blankets underneath the top of the hips here. So I'll show you where to do that. And then we'll get the strap ready. So I'm just rolling 2 blankets up. And I'm going to wedge that at an angle in between the legs there. I know the strap is going to be holding the feet, but this also just gives the legs a little bit of security, a little bit of support for the inner groin there, the adductors. So roll both blankets there and have it at an angle and wedge it. I have them both there at a 45-degree underneath my legs. Now you can adjust them when you get the leg, when you get the strap ready. Okay, so get your strap ready. If you've got the strap, goes through both loops, pull it through, and then back through the first loop there. Got it nice and loose to start with. Wrap the strap around your waist there. Okay, here's the bit where people often get it wrong. To have it loose enough so that it'll fit. It's going to come in between your knees and around your feet there. So the soles of your feet are together there. My knees are bent. My legs are wide. My strap is around my waist, and I'm wrapping the other end of the belt around the soles of my feet on my toes there. Okay. I have the buckle. It's floating in between my knees there, or just kind of in that space, so that you don't have it on any part of your body in case it kind of it annoys you. And then just recline again, like all our straight leg people. Recline over your bolster there. Adjust your blanket under your head there. And you might need to adjust those blankets underneath the thighs there. Wedge them in nice and tight underneath the thighs. Make sure that the blanket, or that the belt is not cutting into your back there, that it's supporting your feet, but it's not too tight. Okay, now that we're all sorted, let's start to observe the breath again. Feel the inhale expand and the exhale contract. And I find this pose is one of the most optimal positions for a really lovely, smooth breath. And it's the kind of breath where you can both relax and with a little less weight of gravity than when we're lying flat down on the ground, there's more availability for the lungs to expand there. We'll just scan through our body and then we might just do a little bit of breath counting. So, and we really just let the back of the skull, so feel the weight of the brain pressing into the back of the skull, pressing into the blanket and into the bolster. So really laying your head down gently onto your bolster. Can you release the jaw? Can you allow it to be soft? Space between the temples, skin across your forehead as smooth as silk. The skin across your cheekbones, just draping. Shoulders just gently kind of dangling out of the sockets there. The elbows, maybe need to walk them a little bit away from the bolster if you need to allow the arms to dangle down. Hands facing up. Now, whether your knees are straight or your knees are bent, can you let your knees and your legs be heavy? Can you feel the support of the props underneath you, lifting you up, cradling you? We'll do a 2-4 breath, so a nice gentle breath without much stress or effort to elongate it. So inhaling for 2, 1, and exhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll do 5 rounds of this. And by all means, if you don't want to do conscious breathing like this, you can just continue with your own gentle breath. The second round, inhaling for 2, 1, and exhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling for 2, 1, exhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling for 2, 1. Exhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 2, 1, and exhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then let there be silence. The breath just ebb and flow. And find this gentle inner peace. This lovely restful state that you have created for yourself. And just notice the power of allowing yourself to be present on your mat and allowing yourself to relax. And sometimes we come to our restorative and we feel I'm just never going to be able to switch off, but we just keep chipping away at it to find this inner peace that we know is waiting there for us. Okay, so we're going to get ready to come into Shavasana now. So I'm going to guide the people who have got the blanket roll first, and then I'll guide the people with the strap. So if you have the strap around your feet, you can stay there for a little bit longer. So if you have the blanket roll under your feet, you can, or under your knees, you can leave the blanket roll there, but just sit up and pop your bolster out of the way and the two bricks out of the way and come all the way down onto the ground there to take your Shavasana. And then if you have the strap, the belt around your feet, press into your hands there to again lift yourself up to seated. And then unhook your feet, take it off your weights there. And then you can roll those two blankets to under your knees there if you'd like, or you can pop them out to the side. And then just push your bolster out of the way, the bricks out of the way, everything out of the way there. And then gently come all the way down to the ground. So find your neutral spine. So can you feel the little waves of the spine there lifting off the ground at the base, dropping down again at the upper and lifting up underneath the neck. Hands facing up towards the ceiling. A little bit of space between your arms and your hands. And seeing, can you find a little bit of a sense of symmetry now, left and right. Left and right. Eye, left and right. Jaw. Left and right shoulder. Left and right elbow. Left and right wrist. Left and right palm. Left and right back of the hip. Left and right frontal hip bone. Symmetry in left and right upper thigh, left and right back of the thigh, left and right front of the knee, left and right back of the knee, left and right shin, left and right calf, left and right top of the foot, left and right back of the heel, left and right toes, left and right whole body becomes one. You're getting ready now to come back into your day. Can you keep this lovely, calm version of yourself that you cultivate as you transition into the rest of the world? Rolling over to your side, taking some breaths here. Gently pushing yourself up to a seated position. You can sit up on your blankets there, or you can straddle your bolsters, whatever is comfortable to you. Hands in prayer position with your heart. Thumbs to your third eye, your heart center. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me. So if you have any questions at all, or if there's versions of poses that you need adjustments on, feel free to message me or email me on ruth@yogaroo.ie.